How does a married man feel when his mistress leaves him? How does a married man feel when his mistress leaves him? Does he even have the right to feel angry or mad? What's going through his head at that moment? A married man has to go through a lot of trouble in order to maintain a stable relationship with his mistress, while at the same time, being married to another woman. Of course, we're going to address the moral dilemma this situation creates. A man who's a liar and a cheater can't do anything good for his wife afterward. She's been betrayed by the one person she loved the most. He broke her heart without thinking twice about it. Even if he says that he loves his wife, he's lying, as a man who's in love with her would never go after anyone else. How does a married man feel when his mistress leaves him then? This woman has been his sanctuary, his safe space, and she's someone he went to when he felt he couldn't talk to his wife. That doesn't have to mean he went to her for advice. She was someone he enjoyed the silence with, someone who understood him without one word spoken. That's exactly why he'd be so distressed if she decided to walk away from him, especially if she did so without an actual explanation. She was his safe haven, so how could he remain unaffected? Being broken up with for any reason is absolutely awful. Even if you just think that the man you love doesn't reciprocate your feelings, you'll still be hurt. The amount of pain a man will feel depends on how much time and effort he dedicated to his mistress. After seeing all the signs that were right there and realizing that he loves his mistress, it's not that hard to see that he'll be heartbroken when she leaves him. As stated before, no breakup is easy. Even if he still has a wife and children at home, as he hasn't left them, he will still feel the impact of losing his mistress. A big part of his life is going to disappear, and if you thought that he'd be cold-hearted about it, think twice. So, let's figure out how a married man feels when his mistress leaves him. Number 1. He thinks it's all his fault. If he loves his mistress, the pain of their separation will start with guilt. He'll feel like he didn't give her enough time and effort. He'll believe that it was all his fault and that she left because he was taking too long to divorce his wife. There are women out there who respect themselves enough to leave once they realize they'll always be the other woman. No one wants to willingly share their man. So once she found out how messed up that entire relationship was, she made a decision to honor herself. Even if the breakup doesn't have anything to do with him, he'll still blame himself for everything that happened. That same guilt can eat him up to the point where he'll go and beg for her to come back. Number 2. He's angry with her and himself. He's angry with her for not seeing his kindness. A narcissistic man who doesn't see how much his actions hurt his mistress would never understand what she went through. That's why he'll be annoyed at her for not being there for him and leaving his side. His anger comes from the fact that he doesn't understand his mistress's point of view. On the other hand, he may just as well be angry with himself. How does a married man feel when his mistress leaves him? Anger is always the most obvious answer when it comes to men. He'll be mad with himself for not divorcing his wife earlier. The anger will become even more obvious if he loves the other woman very much, and the thought of someone else having her will drive him wild. A married man can't lose his mistress without feeling like he has lost a part of himself. You might think that I'm over-exaggerating, but he will be angry once she decides to break up with him, and it'll be more than obvious. Number 3. He feels disappointed. He tried. This man tried so hard to make her happy, even though he knew that his wife was waiting for him at home. He's disappointed that his efforts were in vain and that he didn't know how to make things better. He's also disappointed that there's nothing more he can do to get her back. Pursuing her would probably put his marriage in a weird position, because not every man wants to divorce his wife right away. He's disappointed in his mistress for not seeing how hard he tried. Disappointment probably isn't the emotion you were looking for here, but it really is one of the most obvious things. Number 4. He feels misunderstood. His mistress left him, his wife hates him, and no one around him seems to understand why he did what he did. They're all against him, and the only person he ever went to when he needed a safe haven was his mistress. She didn't understand her position in his life, and she couldn't comprehend what he had to go through for them to be together. His mistress probably didn't understand when he said that he loved her, or when he said that he needed just a little more time. He now feels misunderstood by the one person he thought understood him best. Number 5. His ego is hurt. Sometimes there's no such thing as love between two people. Maybe he was just pretending. Either way, how does a married man feel when his mistress leaves him? Even if he loved her more than anyone else, a man's ego is extremely fragile. He should have been the one to leave her. He should have been the one to walk away. Wasn't she the one who begged him to stay by her side? Wasn't she the one who begged him to leave his wife for her? The same mistress is leaving him now after making him feel like the most wanted man in the universe. He sees this as nothing more than a hard hit to his ego. How dare she leave him? Why wasn't he the one to leave her? Number 6. He feels hopeless. His mistress was the only person he had who understood him. She was his refuge and his comfort. Who is he now that she's gone? Have you ever seen a man who has lost all hope? His emotions are obvious on the face of a man who's just been broken up with. He'll mostly feel hopeless if he already turned in the divorce papers and made a deal with his wife, or ex-wife. The only promise he did have was to his mistress, and now that she's gone as well, he's left completely alone. There isn't anything in this world that can help him. He has lost both women who meant something to him, and now he's all alone and there's no one to turn to. How does a married man feel when his mistress leaves him? He feels lost and hopeless. Number 7. His heart is broken. When things have a rocky start, people don't usually believe that it can become a strong and love-filled relationship. However, that doesn't always have to be the case, especially when we're talking about a man and his mistress. When you're always going to this one person for love, advice, and intimacy, you'll develop emotions. It doesn't matter whether the beginning was rocky if it made them both question their moral compass. Those things don't matter a while into the relationship. He fell in love with her and she probably loved him as well. Things just got out of control and she had to make a decision. She chose to walk away. Even though he might still have a wife to go back home to, it's not the same without his mistress. He wants to be with her, obviously. Having her leave him is absolutely breaking him apart and it's heart-rending. Some would say that it's karma for all the hearts he has broken on his way to happiness. Now that same happiness has turned into a broken heart. When his mistress leaves him, a married man will never forget her. Unless he's a player who's been cheating on his wife for goodness knows how long, he won't forget his mistress. As stated before, he risked everything to be with her. He cheated on his wife to be with another woman, and he didn't even know whether he'd have a future with her. The biggest problem he may be facing is that his mistress and wife aren't the only two people who know about this. There are probably more people out there who will hate him for what he has done. He thought that he'd go through those troubles with her and not alone. You can't trust a man who cheated on his wife. He once told her that he loved her, and he probably said those same words to her while he was cheating. So, when he says those words to his mistress, why would she believe him? Either way, he doesn't deserve either of those women, and he should feel all those negative emotions. We've all heard the words, once a cheater, always a cheater. Those same words probably drew his mistress away from him, even when she thought that they'd spend eternity together. Now that he doesn't even have his ego to keep him from falling into despair, he might learn what it means for those two women. All those empty promises were broken by him a long time ago. His mistress is now breaking his heart just like he broke his wife's. He loved the other woman. Because of that, he'll never forget her.